And now it's time for another edition of the 12th Man Fan Jam. With your host, the Reverend Moses of the St. Paul Island Church of Seahawk Positivity.
Yes, thank you, Magic Voice of the 12th Man Fan Jam. It is indeed I, the self-appointed Reverend Moses of the St. Paul Island Church of Seahawk Positivity, and thank you all so much for making us part of your Seahawks pregame tradition. This is the 12th Man Fan Jam show, where we try our best to quench your Seahawk fix for about an hour. So please unbutton those trousers, veg out on the couch, and ignore your family. But remember, there's no such thing as too many leftovers. Joining myself this week is a cornucopia of entertainment this evening for your listening pleasure. The Positivity panel is geared up and ready to take on another heaping helping of Seahawk football. There's first our news hound, and as some of you know as Shadowhawk, we know him as Will. Say hi, everybody, Will.
Good evening, and how many Thanksgiving references are we going to pack into this first segment here?
Well, I tell you what, Will, I think we should have a competition. How many references I pack in, someone can win a prize or something.
Sounds good.
We'll see what we can do there. Back from an extended time in captivity by rioting 49er fans, where he was beaten rather senseless and attacked, but released and eventually is unharmed. Off the disabled list here at the 12th Man Fan Jam is our stats man, Mark.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, the bandages are almost completed and off. It's good to be back.
It's good to have you, Mark. And I hear you almost have complete use of your left arm, so that's great.
Yes.
Congratulations. We're joined this week by a couple of special guests. We've had to bring a couple of special people in as usual, just like the Seahawks. You know what? When someone hits the injured reserve list, we next man up, and we have two next people up, I should say. First is a man, I guess he is. He's been on the show before. You know him as Dustin.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Some of your guests are more special than others, and that would be her. So.
No, Dustin, we worked out that thing with your agent, so we got you back on for another show.
Yeah, appreciate that. I like the paycheck.
Yeah, we'll double it this week. And our other special guest is her first time on the 12th Man Fan Jam from the lovely state of California. Some of you know her as Dana Hawk. Some of you know her as number 24. Some of you know her as a variety of other names. Some we can't mention here, some we can. But from sunny California, we're thankful she is here. There's another reference for you. It is Dana.
Hi, everybody. Go Hawks. I'm your Southern California connection.
She's already got
Dana, who are your two favorite teams?
Seahawks is my second favorite team. Is whoever's playing the Chargers. So I love the Bengals this week. Go Bengals.
And tell us what you think of Phillip Rivers before we go on.
Oh, my gosh. Well, you said enough. Phyllis Rivers.
Understandable. So Dana, tell us a little bit about yourself. Why the Seahawks?
Well, my last name is Patera, and I've been a Seahawks fan for 33 years. My cousin Jack Patera was the head coach of the Seahawks from 1976 to 1982, and he was fired and replaced by Mike McCormick. In 1982, Patera, my family were big Seahawks fans. My dad's been a Seahawk fan since the inception when they came into the league in 1976. And I'm a big Seahawks fan. My older sister, younger sister, and my nephew. And my nephew's in the military and is getting transferred to Washington in 2 weeks. So he's hoping to catch his first Seahawks game at Century Lake this year. So we're hoping he'll get tickets.
What branch of the military?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. He instant messaged me and said he's going to be moving to Tacoma, if that helps.
Fort Lewis. He's in the Army.
Okay.
Yeah,
he's my nephew. He's 22, and any of the girls that say, "Oh, Samson, you jumped on the Seahawks bandwagon," I'll say, "Wait a minute." When he was a kid, he used to go to Aunt Dana's and watch the Seahawks games. So, Patera, the Seahawks are big with our family, so we're big Seahawks fans.
Actually, awesome. I'd take that back a bit. He could be Army or Air Force. JBLM is right there in Tacoma, so Army or Air Force.
I'm not sure we've been messaging back and forth. I told him to give me a call because he says, well, I'll just call the Seahawks and see if I can get a ticket. And I laughed. I said, it's not that simple. There are no tickets, Samson. So, but
We should have.
fan.
Sorry, we should have a poll function on here. Ask our listeners, which branch of the military do you think Samson belongs to? Army or Air Force?
Which branch? And then you all can try to figure it out. That's right. That'd be good. Which branch does he belong to? Maybe he'll tell us.
I think he's in the reserves or something. Now I want to say National Guard. I don't know, but he's thrilled to be moving to Washington and see the Seahawks.
I can help narrow down where you live at before.
Right now he lives in Waxahachie, Texas.
That's got to be Air Force. There's no Army base there, so that's probably that.
Well, whatever it is.
I'm a bad aunt.
Okay. No, you're not a bad aunt because you're raised in a Seahawk fan, so we won't go there. But we're very thankful for him and his service, and we're thankful you're joining us tonight as well, Dana.
Thank you.
You bet. Now, and I know you're anxious, and we're all anxious to get back to football, and we're anxious to get this show going as well. So we'll remind everybody, here's how the show you're about to listen to is formatted. 12th Man Fan Jam is broken down into 4 quarters and 2 2-minute warnings, just like a real NFL game. In quarter 1, we'll hear with all the news that we may have missed the last couple of weeks. Quarter 2 is usually spent to discuss last week's game, but since there was no game last week to discuss, we'll discuss the bye week, anything that may or may not have happened over the bye week. Not that I will.
Oh, nothing happened.
No.
Kind of dull, really.
Yeah. At halftime, I have a special can't miss interview with CAJUN Man, who is a diehard Seahawks. You don't want to miss that. And third quarter will be spent with analyzing the stats for the upcoming game. And then the fourth quarter will be spent giving your predictions and prognostications for the upcoming Monday Night Football game between your Seattle Seahawks and the New Orleans Saints. So without further ado, let's jump right in with the first quarter. Yes, giving you news that you may have missed during the week because you were too busy trying to chase down a turkey. Here is our news hound, the Shadow Hawk Will. Will, what do you got for us this evening?
Well, the first item comes from kind of a turkey of the game of the day. The Packers 40-10 loss to the Detroit Lions on Thursday. Packers offensive lineman Josh Sitton made highlights earlier in the week when he went off on the Lions defensive line, calling them all dirty, saying that they would try to hurt Aaron Rodgers if he was playing. And then also got on Lions head coach Jim Schwartz's case, calling him, quote, a dick, unquote. Well,
I can see that.
Sitton, of course, looked rather foolish after the game, but he actually got some support from an unlikely source, namely former Lion and former Seahawk defensive end Lawrence Jackson. Jackson admitted that he didn't disagree with Sitton when it came to Lions head coach Jim Schwartz, and elaborated by saying, quote, I don't have anything against him. I just don't have a ton of respect for him. Not everyone is held to the same standard, and things are done because he wants to do them, not because they're good for the team. He will also lie right to your face. So Detroit may have won on Thursday. They may be leading the NFC North, but it doesn't sound like a great locker room over there.
No. It does not. Well, first off, being the Packers was not that hard. And was everybody thankful that Matt Flynn was released rather quickly?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Woo. That was
I felt a little bad for the guy, but yeah, glad he didn't have a game like that here in Seattle.
Amen to that.
He's just counting his money.
He didn't have a chance, in all honesty, a lot of times, though. Like that safety, he drops back, he looks to his right, he hits the ground. I mean, there was nothing. I don't think the center even tried to block. It was ridiculous.
Well, what fun would that be?
Yeah.
But is Sitton right? Do you consider the Lions, well, dirtbags?
Sue, yes.
Okay.
And Domicon absolutely is. He's a punk, and he's shown that multiple times on national television. He usually likes Thanksgiving to flare up a little bit, but
he didn't stomp anybody this year, so
yeah.
No, but Mark, would you want that dirtbag on your team, especially Dominican Sue?
No, there's just no way. We're just not that desperate. We don't need him, you know.
Fair enough.
I wouldn't go that far, but
well, I don't know. we'd have to put him in isolation for a while and reprogram, or have him take a vacation at Guantanamo and have the CIA work on him, or anything to, purge his mind of whatever it is that causes him to behave the way he does.
That's fine. We have the technology. We did it with Breno Giacomini. Look how many flags he got last year.
We can rebuild him.
Yes.
But
can he play cornerback?
I don't think the fans would allow it. We don't want garbage. I don't think we would stand for Sue being on our team.
I don't know, Dane. I think production trumps a lot of that, honestly.
Yeah.
And if he came in here and he fit in the locker room and they got him to fit in and they got him to be right, like me and Mark were just talking about, I think they wouldn't care. If he goes out there and sacks people, gets that pressure up the middle, a lot will be forgiven.
Yeah. Will, you kind of hinted about the dysfunction. How do you see the Lions as being dysfunctional?
Well, it's definitely possible. I mean, you look at the team, you look at the talent they have, and they just consistently underachieve. So if there is dysfunction in that locker room, that would explain a lot.
Kind of the NFC version of the Houston, except they're still winning a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. He could get a medicinal card in Washington, and maybe that would mellow him out.
No, we've had enough of that lately.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's say the Seahawks are the team to get it with, apparently.
All right.
Yeah, apparently. Will, what else you got for us?
Well, have a little item interest from the guy who I'm now considering the toughest man alive. That would be Panthers linebacker Thomas Davis. This is already a man who has come back from 3 torn ACLs. Wow. I don't know if they're all in the same knee, but sheesh. Wow. But during the Panthers game on Sunday against the Dolphins, Davis apparently suffered a dislocated finger, which actually poked through his skin.
Oh.
But the impressive part was he didn't miss a play. They put his finger back into place, stitched him up, and he went right back out onto the field. So, wow. Thomas Davis, respect, my friend.
Wow.
And ouch.
Wow.
That's disgusting. You guys know who Anthony Munoz is? Played
yes.
left tackle for the Bengals.
Hall of Famer. Yeah.
Yeah, and really up to when we got a guy pre-Walter Jones, you could argue he was the best left tackle that ever played the game. Well, when he was inducted, Dave Lapham told the story about how Munoz came off the field with the dislocated finger, and he was really in a lot of pain. Of course, to put it back in there, they had to pull it and yank it and tug it. And he said, Munoz is sitting there screaming. They put it in. He screamed, "Son of a biscuit!" And Lapham said, he's the only guy on the planet I know that would actually scream "son of a biscuit" when that happened.
That's pretty hilarious.
Yeah, that's the kind of guy he was. That's pretty disgusting.
I don't know about disgusting. I think it's interesting that they were able to tell that it was a dislocation and not a fracture right away. That's kind of interesting to me.
Lucky guess.
Yeah.
Dustin, you want to clue in people what you do for a living a little bit?
Yeah, I am a medical professional. I take X-rays for a living. When I was in the Army, I was a combat medic and then an X-ray tech. And in high school, I did sports medicine for a few years. So
you've probably seen your share of bones sticking through skin.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially sports injuries. They're the ones that tend to be the big ones. So.
Yeah. So while the rest of us are grossing out, you're just kind of like,
Yeah, my mind goes somewhere else completely. Like, how did they know?
It's good to have an expert opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. What else you got, Will?
Well, on a sad note, we have had the first team officially eliminated from the 2013 playoffs.
No.
With the San Francisco 49ers beating the Washington Redskins last Monday night, they officially eliminated the Atlanta Falcons. Last year's number 1 seed in the NFC is this year's first team to be kicked out of the big dance.
Wow.
Wow.
What is it with the Falcons? I mean, I didn't think they were as good as they looked last year, but I didn't think they'd be as bad as they look this year.
I agree.
I think losing all the injuries they've had played a huge role in that. Julio Jones being gone is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, just issues like that.
That plus the fact that, like you said, I didn't feel overly impressed with them when we played them. The amazing wide receiver tandem, and you throw in, a Hall of Fame tight end with that. Yes, they were amazing. And of course, they ran the ball down our throats too that game. But to me, their defense couldn't stop anybody. They remind me of the Redskins. Look at the Redskins this year, kind of the same. When your defense can't stop anybody, you're kind of running on fumes, I think. They have a tendency to fall quicker, and I think that's what's happening in Atlanta, but, I could be wrong.
I don't know. How is it that a team like Jacksonville isn't eliminated first, as bad as they've been? That's what blows my mind about the whole thing.
Well, look at the rest of the AFC. I mean, right now the teams all vying for the sixth and final playoff spot are all 5-6, 4-7. I mean, the whole conference is bad. So
that's true. Yep. That's true. They're like an extended NFC East. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And a team like the Falcons or the Redskins, it just seems like when things start going south, on top of not having enough depth, just collectively that team psyche just goes in the tank.
Yep.
And conversely, the Seahawks are now at a point where we've seen them dig deep. I mean, the grit and determination and heart that our team has overcomes injuries or overcomes obstacles. And these other teams that had success the year before, the minute things go, south, it's like it's all over.
Right.
So it's just that mental psyche. They just lose it right away.
I think that starts with the head coach and in practice and just the mantra that he brings to always compete one play at a time. They buy in. So I think that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
I agree with that too.
It's the end of the first quarter, bitches.
And that's the end of the first quarter. Thank you so much, Will Shadowhawk, for the wonderful news. We're going to take a quick break, a station identification, if you will, and we will be back at the start of the second quarter.
Hi, I'm Rosette, my sister's daughter. This Thanksgiving season, I am thankful for all my family and the 12th Man Fan Jam. Do I get my money now, Dad?
Okay, let me go get my wallet.
And now it's time for the second quarter of the 12th Man Fan Jam. In the second quarter, we will be discussing the good, we will be discussing the bad, and we will be discussing the ugly of last week's game. Here to take you through the second quarter is once again our host, the self-appointed Reverend Moses of the St. Paul Allen Church of Seahawk Positivity.
Thank you once again, Magic Voice, the 12th Man Jam. Second period, or second quarter rather. Tonight, instead of talking about the good and bad of the from last week's game, there was no last week's games. Of course, there was a lot of good, bad, and ugly during the bye week we can talk about. Will can kind of fill us in a little bit. We're going to talk about one story and then another story. So, Will, if you want to fill us in on one situation that happened last week.
Well, as was first reported Sunday morning and became official Tuesday afternoon, Walter Thurmond, as you've probably heard, has been suspended 4 games for violation of the league's substance abuse policy, not for PEDs, for performance-enhancing drugs, but for other substances. It's been speculated that he was taking marijuana at the time. And a 4-game suspension generally means you've failed more than one test. So John Clayton said it could go as high as 3 or 4 tests before you are suspended. But he at least failed a couple of them. Seattle on Tuesday signed former Broncos and Niners cornerback Parrish Cox to replace him. But the Parrish Cox era lasted less than 24 hours as he was cut the next day to make room for practice squad cornerback Deshaun Shedd.
All right. And Will, personally, what was your opinion of Mr. Thurman and his rather bad choice?
I'm angry. I got to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm angry and I'm disappointed. And I think Seattle has got to have to look long and hard as to whether or not they want to re-sign him after his contract expires this year. You've already got the injury history. You got a guy taking banned substances more than once during a season in which this is probably our best shot for a Super Bowl that we've had since the last time we went. You know, where's his head at? Is he going to stay healthy? How much money is he going to ask for?
Yep. I agree. Dustin, what was your view when you heard it, the news?
Well, let me elaborate a little bit on what Will was saying. My kid was homesick on Tuesday. I was able to stay home, and I read up a lot about how this program works. And what happens is when a player comes into the league, the NFL can actually recommend that they go on that program, have them started on that. That's one way to get on the program, substance abuse program, even if you don't test hot or miss one of the annual piss tests that the NFL does. Another way to do it is to test hot once. If you test hot once, you're automatically in the program. You're enrolled. Or you can self-refer, but I don't think any player is going to do that. But so what this means is that either the NFL put him in the program out of college or he failed a test in the NFL already. Got put on the program, right? The second offense is a 3-game thing where they take your paycheck for 3 games. So that's mess up number 2. Number 3 would be the 4-game suspension. And all of this is confidential. They're not allowed to say what you did, what happened. The team doesn't even know. The player has to report it to the team if they want to. So bare minimum, Walter Thurman has messed up twice already. And by doing that, he's placed in stage 3, which means that his next offense is going to be a lifetime ban from the NFL with the option to apply to be reinstated after 1 year. So, yeah. So
amazing.
That's really, really going to hurt his free agency, obviously. His injuries aren't going to help. So if they keep him around, it's going to be for pretty cheap. I would almost venture to say probably league minimum for a veteran of however many years he's been in. So there's not going to be a huge market for that guy. I was angry, like Will said, because we needed this dude right now.
Yeah.
We need him. He's got to get out there and play. He's a good coverage corner. And he had his chance to prove it, and he just literally pissed it all away. So
and this is the first year that he's really had a chance to show what he can do. It's like, hey, we're finally seeing Walter Thurman, who we drafted 4 years ago, and now he does this.
Yeah, I agree. Mark, what's your view on this rather sensitive subject?
Well, it's I was before the show, I was watching a 4-letter network, and it's interesting, between Browner and Thurman, they're saying that we are decimated in the secondary and all this stuff, and generally speaking, first off, they are selling the Saints so hard. I mean, it's amazing how they just want to find any little adversity that Seattle is going through, and they ignore the fact that we're at home and all that stuff. But my own opinion, it is what it is, and the timing is terrible, and just hearing what Dustin was explaining, it's beyond ridiculous that he would jeopardize not only his tenure with the team, but I mean, he's just so close to being out of the league, and it's just unreal. I don't know why I'm surprised when I hear these things, but I still am. Yeah,
me too. Dana, your views?
I'm just disappointed. I think it's a selfish move. He knew doing what he did was going to affect the team, and he chose to do it anyway. I mean, he knew, you're going to get caught. So I think I would just say that I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
Especially it really shouldn't make a difference that we're 10-1 or 1-10, but he did this. It was just a selfish thing to do. He didn't think about it when he did it, but it's going to catch up with you. So I just think it was selfish.
I like to throw this out there too. The whole argument that I've heard a lot of people make that, well, it's Washington, it's legal in Washington. That doesn't matter. I don't even know why that's a factor, why that gets brought up. The dude knows the rules of his job. One of the rules is you can't do drugs. Federally, that's an illegal drug. Just because it's legal in Washington doesn't make it all right for you to do. So that argument's getting old really, really quick.
Right. I agree.
That and the everybody does it argument, which, that's so far past anything you can even, if I did an illegal job in my job, and I know I compare it to your job, I'm not comparing it to it, but don't tell me everybody does it, so it's okay. It's in the rules. They know what the rules are. They're explaining the rules. They're given the rules. They know this is going to happen. So to go out and do it, I agree. Here's what God, in 6 weeks, if this team does what they're supposed to do, in 6 weeks, this dude never have to buy again. People buy for him. Hold off for 2 months, and then I don't care what you do in March. My God. But here's the thing. When that happened, I said, well, that's okay, because we've still got Brandon Browner, so he may make it in by the end of the. But then what happened?
Well, the very next day, word broke that Brandon Browner was also being suspended. Although here's where it gets interesting, because the original reports had him serving an 8-game suspension for PED use, something that Browner and his agent vehemently denied, only to turn around and find out, nope, he violated the substance abuse policy. Oh, he's been banned for the game with an option to apply for reinstatement after 1 year. So arguably worse than, well, definitely in terms of length of suspension, it was worse, but arguably worse than the PED talk, although I think there's an argument to be made that NFL.com and specifically Michael Silver defamed Browner by running with that report about PED use before it was confirmed. Because there's definitely a bigger stigma about, oh, you're taking something to cheat, as opposed to, oh, you're just taking pot.
But, and this, I want to bring this up before I ask everybody about this, that kind of bothered me looking back in retrospect, because when Brandon twittered out, hey, it's a lie, I didn't take PEDs, but he knew what he did. It's almost like, okay, I'm being accused of sleeping with Susie. Hey, I didn't sleep with Susie. I slept with Bambi. But hey, honey, don't get mad at me. I didn't sleep with Susie like they said I did.
Well, Browner should have definitely kept his mouth shut. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, dude, don't tell me that you didn't do this, because technically he didn't lie to us. He didn't sleep with Susie, but he slept with Bambi.
Well, here's where I take exception.
Slept around.
Here's where I take exception to that opinion too, is because this is a confidential program. Like I said, the teams don't know what happened. The only people that do is the player in the NFL. Now, the way this works, Brandon Browner was with the Denver Broncos back in 2005, right? He had an arm injury, went on the IR, released in 2006. Sometime during this time frame with the Broncos, he ended up on the substance abuse program. Now, we don't know if he tested positive for marijuana. That's a possibility. That's a probability, actually. But here's where it gets pretty messed up, is where when you're not in the NFL anymore, if you go somewhere else like CFL or whatever, like he did, you're still required by the NFL to come in and do drug tests. Even though you're no longer an employee of the league, they still require you to do that. So when Brandon Browner, according to John Clayton, when Brandon Browner left the Broncos, he had broken up with his girlfriend right around that same time, didn't have anywhere to stay, so he was living on couch to couch, different friends, didn't have a cell phone, couldn't afford it, was drawing unemployment for a while until he got picked up in the CFL. Apparently, he never got a briefing from the NFL saying, hey, you still have to do these tests, which, to my opinion, is kind of a legal debate in the first place. Why would you have to do that? So all those tests he missed when he wasn't in the NFL and apparently wasn't aware that he had to take those tests counts as strikes against him. So when he came back to the NFL, he was already in phase 3, which means any type of mistake that happens, you have the lifetime ban with the option to apply for reinstatement after a year. And you don't have to test hot in order for you to get that ban. You can miss a test.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know how long ago it was that he got in trouble, but seeing as how this whole thing is confidential, people will assume that he did test hot. There's no way that information is released. Nobody knows if he tested hot or not. It's an assumption. He may have just missed a test, which sucks. You know what I mean? Because that automatically puts him up for that ban. So Brandon Browner has a real case with his appeal against the NFL because of that messed up rule. Now, everything I've read and everything I've heard is that if he loses this, he's going to sue the NFL because of this to get money. Because essentially by the time next year rolls around, right, and I think next season he's going to be 31, Next year rolls around, he can't play. So the next year he's actually eligible to play in the NFL. He's going to be 32 years old.
Yeah.
And he's already been benched once this year for his bad play because he had a couple games there where he wasn't playing too well, so they benched him and brought him back in.
Mm-hmm.
So in all likelihood, if he were to not win this appeal, he'd be out of the NFL. His career would be over because he's already oversized. Nobody gave him a chance for like 5 years. Seahawk is right time, right position, right team. That just worked with the Seahawks. It's probably not going to happen again. Lightning's not going to strike twice for that guy. So
Right.
he's going to sue the NFL if he doesn't win this appeal. So that's more incentive for the NFL to overturn it. I think there's a good chance that Brandon Browner is going to be available for the playoffs, but this whole situation is just ridiculous. And leave it to the Seahawks to make changes in the NFL, kind of like placement reps coming back.
Yeah,
See,
it's very true.
and you know
Mark, what
what
was
about that comparison though, is that we won the game.
That's very good comparison. Yes.
So
Mark,
sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Will.
Oh, I was just going to point out just the strange parallel between this year and last year. Both seasons, we have 2 suspensions announced at the end of November. In both cases, one guy took the suspension, immediately started serving it. The other one is fighting it. And in both cases, the biggest game of the year is coming up. So just kind of weird.
Very weird indeed, and very strange to even think those things would coincide.
You know what else coincides though?
What's that?
Last year when all that was going on, you know who else was out? Walter Thurman, because he was
That's
injured.
true.
And
That's true.
Byron Maxwell and Jeremy Lane stepped in, and we had
They did.
3 or 4 blowouts. So 3.
They did, and they played very well.
So let's
Mark,
hope history keeps repeating itself.
Mhm.
oh, I hope so. Mark, how do you feel about the whole Lane and Maxwell thing? You think we're okay?
I think so, because they've gotten some experience, and collectively this defense is solid. I think to put a positive spin on all this is that the guys, Earl Thomas and Sherman Chancellor, they know what's going on. Obviously, the whole team does, but I think the defense is going to be even more fired up because they know that maybe they have to carry a little bit more weight to help out, the new guy, the fourth defensive back, on top of being inspired to really, show the league, who's still boss, especially at home. I mean, I'm amazed by the 4-letter networks and the way that they sit there and they try and they just continually build up the Saints as if the Saints are on a roll when they've been anything but the last couple of games. Their last couple of wins have been non-convincing, and again, I think defensively we're just going to rally around this. I do not see this as being a big issue in the locker room where we're going to come out flat. There's just no way.
I agree. But Dana, do you kind of feel like there are some issues with as a fan having to defend this kind of stuff? Does this kind of grate on you because really when these guys do this, when they do it on the Seahawks, we kind of take it personal because we're fans, but we also have to put up with the people saying, oh, your team's a bunch of cheaters, bunch of potheads, stuff like that. Does that bother you, Dana, at all, or should I just not let people get to me?
Well, I don't let people get to me, and I think it's all because I don't talk smack. Like, I won't get on any social media and say, my team is better than yours. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I was raised differently. I was never allowed to talk smack. So people don't like pick on me or talk smack about my team. Now, I've seen it on social media every single day, and when I say social media, where it's pretty clear what I'm talking about, but the different websites, and there's people talking the how much the Seahawks cheat, and it all stems with the coach, and I get that a lot. I see that a lot, but me personally, do I have to defend my team? I would say me personally, I do not, because I don't dish out like the smack talk, but I see it every day, and it really does bother me because I want to win, of course, but I also want to win fair. But I also know how Schneider and Carroll work, and these guys maybe messed up, and the only word I can really think is next up, who's next that's going to take the place. So
Next man up.
as a fan, it's disappointing, but I personally don't feel like I feel the heat from all the negativity.
Well, good. I don't either. Let's get off the heat a little bit.
Holy shit, it's a 2-minute warning.
And it's time for our 2-minute warning. One final thing, we'll talk more about the impact on the field that those 2 suspensions will do, I think, when we get the stats and injuries and things like that. At the end of the start of the second half, when Mark does his stats, I'm sure we'll come back to these 2 gentlemen being gone, Browner and Thurman, for this week's game against the Saints. And we'll talk more about Lane and Maxwell and Snead and the whole group there. But before we go to halftime, something that happened during the bye week is, once again, we got the permission. The fans, I guess, the 12th man collectively as a whole, got permission to once again try to break the world record for the world's loudest crowd. Of course, the Seahawks against the 49ers held the record, and then the Kansas City Chiefs broke that record later, and now the 12th man has decided it's time to take that record back. And I know Dana had something that she wanted to share about this world record attempt on Monday night. Dana, you want to kind of lead the discussion here?
Yeah, well, for those of you that are not aware, I'm sure everybody knows, is the game against the 49ers, the Sunday night game. The Guinness Book of World Records was there with volume 12. Can I say that?
Yeah,
We're
you
there
just did.
to do the measuring the decibels of the game or the noise of the game. And I know before the game that this group went over to like one of the local bars or one of the local restaurants and kind of, checked out, what the volume was at. But being at the game and being part of the world record, it's really cool, don't get me wrong, but the way that they did it, I thought it was a little suspect. They stood, I'm in the south end zone, I'm in the second row, and they stood there with the meter about anywhere from 10 to 15 feet away from us. And they had the meter and they said, on the count of 3, we want everybody to scream. And of course, when you're standing 10 feet away from that meter, it's gonna measure loud. I thought the meter was gonna be somewhere hidden in the stadium. And then when we sacked Kaepernick or Kaepernick fumbles or somebody, our defense makes an incredible play, that they were going to measure the sound from the fans clapping and whistling and cheering. And that's the way I thought that they were going to do it. The way that they actually did it was a little suspect to me. You don't tell fans on the count of 3, I want you to scream into this meter. So I can't say that's how they did it in Kansas City. All I can say is I know how they did it in Seattle because I was there with the meter being about 10 feet away from me. So right. I'm not sure why they feel that they need to do it. Again, we don't need a meter to tell us we're loud. The entire country knows how loud it gets in Seattle. And I mean, if you look at the experts, we're favored. Everybody's picking us to win. They just, the fans, it's just loud there. So that's just what I wanted to say about trying to regain that
And for me, this was the concern I had going into it, Dana, which is when you put a number on something, it's meant to be broken. And to me, Steve Largent is still, he's not the best wide receiver to ever play the game, but to me, he's certainly one of the best. But statistically, everything that he broke is long, long gone.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take away from the fact that he's still one of the greatest wide receivers I've ever seen play. And so
the Hall of Fame would agree with that.
Yeah, and to me, numbers are meant to be broken. When you put a number on how loud, well, here's how loud we are. We're so loud that we're this loud. We're 136.6 loud. Well, someone's going to come along and be 136.7. So then what? You go back and get it, and then they go back and get it, and it becomes less about being a loud crowd for a football game and more about just reaching a number. We could set off some firecrackers in front of that mic and maybe get 150. So then what? We're 150 loud? To me, I'm kind of with you. I mean, look, I hope they break it, and I wish them the best, and I certainly hope it happens. But if it happens, I guarantee you what will happen is Kansas City will just do it again. And then we'll do it again. And then, what do we do next? We get a couple shotguns to shoot off in front of the mic so that it makes a loud noise. To me, when you put a number on it, it's meant to be broken. When you set a record, records are meant to be broken. And to continue to do this over and over, to me, kind of takes away from exactly why you're doing it, which is to disrupt the football.
I agree. So. Absolutely. And more importantly, there's a game to be played, and there's a game to be won by the Seattle Seahawks. The noise crowd, or the decibels of the noise crowd, that comes second to playing a good game and winning.
I agree.
Guys, I just want to say that the 12th Man Fan Jam does not endorse taking fireworks or firearms into an NFL stadium, so anything Dennis just said, you should probably disregard.
I said
you're no fun.
Yes.
I didn't hear anything.
Please do not email us with that information. And any final thoughts about the record before we go to halftime from Will, Mark, or Dustin?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I found it interesting. I was reading that the Arizona Cardinals set the Guinness Book of World Records for the world's loudest golf clap. I thought that was...
Seriously?
Did they set the siren off for that? You have that little siren they have to crank to tell everybody it's time to get loud? I love that.
The one that sounded like a dying seal? Yeah.
That's like an oxymoron. Wow.
That was awesome, Mark.
Holy shit, it's halftime.
I think we are at halftime, so let's take a quick break here. Don't miss the upcoming halftime show, which is my interview of Cajun Man, the diehard Saints fan. We're going to talk a lot more about the upcoming football game at the start of the second half. For now, we want to remind you we'll see you at...
You're listening to the 12th Man Fan Jam. Next, the 12th Man Fan Jam presents another interview with Moses.
Thank you. Tonight, we have a special guest and friend of the 12th Man Fan Jam show, Cajun Man. Cajun Man, welcome to the show.
Salutation.
Cajun Man, of course, lives in Louisiana and is a die-hard Saints fan. Isn't that right, Cajun Man?
Who dat nation?
Yes. In fact, you and your wife never miss a Saints game, right?
Separation.
Oh, my apologies, Cajun Man. I didn't know you two had broken up.
Humiliation.
Oh, Cajun Man, again, I'm so sorry. Please accept my sincere condolences.
Exception.
Thank you. Now, Cajun Man, your Saints team has had a great season so far.
Domination.
Yes, they certainly have. But they're not the same team on the road now, are they?
Frustration.
Oh, I can imagine that is frustrating. Are you excited about this week's Monday Night Football game against the Seattle Seahawks?
Anticipation.
Yes, we're all anticipating quite a game. Now, your head coach, what's his name again?
Coach Payton.
Ah, yes, Coach Sean Payton. Now, what do you think he will have up his sleeve for our Seattle Seahawks Monday night?
Preparation.
Oh, I'm sure he'll prepare for the game. But what about the crowd noise?
Commotion.
Oh, you bet it'll be a commotion. It's going to give your quarterback Drew Brees quite a headache.
Medication.
Well, good luck with that. You know, Cajun Man, there's a pretty good chance that your Saints will lose this week, and if they lose, home field advantage for the NFC playoffs might not happen.
Realization.
And without home field advantage, your Saints probably won't make it to the Super Bowl.
No celebration.
Yeah, that would stink.
Devastation.
I'm sure that would be devastating. How would you feel?
Depression.
Aw, Cajun Man.
Desolation.
Aw.
Dejection.
Well, what can you do, huh?
Inebriation.
That's a good idea. Drinking always helps me, Cajun Man. Are you just going to drink?
Copulation.
Oh, wow. Okay, too much information, but I get it. I get it.
Masturbation.
Whoa, Cajun Man. Okay, that's enough information.
Prostitution.
Hey, well, what about your wife?
Lesbian.
Oh, okay, we get it. Hey,
Attraction.
hey, stop looking at me like that.
Experimentation.
Cajun Man, no.
Impression.
No, this interview is over. No, it's over. Hey, stop it. Hey, get off me.
You're listening to the 12th Man Fan Jam, and that was another interview from Moses. I'm joined by Shango. Shango, what did you think of Moses' interview?
This was pathetic. It was embarrassing. It was one of the worst performances I've seen in my life.
Okay, thanks, Shango. Thank you. Can somebody get him out of my room, please? Okay, thanks. Moses, back over to you.
And I'm gonna be okay.
He's the stat man. He's the stat man. And here's our very own stat man. Here's Mark.
Thank you once again. Welcome to the third quarter. And we start the third quarter. We talk about the Saints from here to the end of the program. Finally, we talk about this Monday night football game between your Seattle Seahawks and the New Orleans Saints. And what way to start off that in the second half. Then we're our own stats man, Mark. Mark, what kind of stats can you set us up with about this game? We should know. Mark is passed out.
No, just you totally cut out. Sorry.
It's okay.
But
Mark, are you there? Are you carried off again?
No, I'm not. I couldn't even hear what you were saying.
It's PTSD.
Yeah, take two.
Take two. Mark, what kind of stats do you have for us this evening?
Well, I got a bundle of stats here. And first, we'll be talking about our visitor, the New Orleans Saints. Currently, you'd expect their second passing offense, 23rd in rushing offense. They are 15th in rush defense and pass defense. And leading the charge, of course, is the four-letter network beloved Drew Brees with 3,647 yards, 28, only 8 interceptions. His main targets, good old Jimmy Graham with 6,546 yards and 11 TDs. The rush is kind of running back by committee, led by Pierre Thomas, 486 yards, a little over a 4-yard average. Only one rushing touchdown. And Mark Ingram, 50 carries, 250 yards, 5.0 average, and only, again, 1 TD. What's interesting, let's see, the Saints, they have a 3-game winning streak, but their last 2 wins have been a bit lackluster, with the one against San Francisco, which was a big hit out here where I live, and the 4-point win over Atlanta, which I think they were losing at halftime. Let's see. And then the key stat that we were mentioning a little while ago is that the Saints with Drew Brees and Peyton, on the team, they are 2-6 in their last 8 games when they play in temperatures under 40 degrees. So that is.
And I believe the temperature is going to be a little bit below 40 come kickoff, is it not?
They're talking about there being snow there.
Aha. Not exactly the number 2 passing offense wants to hear that, I don't believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not.
Last I heard, 40% chance of snow. So.
Very nice. Cold and miserable and outdoors, which is another thing.
Yeah.
This team is 3-2 on the road this year, and like you mentioned, the Atlanta game 17-13 in the fourth quarter. Atlanta's driving for the go-ahead score and fumble at like the 15 or the 10-yard line. So could have been a totally different score. But as we would argue, they argue, and I agree with them. Hey, it was a division game, and division games are different, and I totally agree with them if they say that. But this game in Seattle. Could be a lot different for experience for the Saints, I think, as well. And you mentioned, Mark, real quick, you mentioned that 4-letter network kind of sucking on the teat of the New Orleans Saints.
Yep.
I would maybe argue a little bit that they got to this, and everyone is kind of leaning towards Seattle. It's outdoors, it's cold, it's going to be not exactly breeze throwing weather. That maybe they're trying to sell it a little bit to kind of get people to kind of lean the other way, where in other words, if everyone thought the Saints were going to win, that maybe they would kind of lean our way a little bit. I would think maybe for viewing reasons. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Is that possible?
Well, they're just, I don't know. The Saints are, that they have their stars and we have ours, but they're just, I don't know. It's the usual kind of East Coast thing, I think. And they have won a Super Bowl. I think any team that's won a Super Bowl recently, they're going to, focus on them as much as possible.
I think it's
not
not that, but they've been a media darling ever since Katrina. It's kind of harsh to say, but that's absolutely the truth.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's happened to that team. Everybody took them under their wing, and they're like, hey, sport, come on, you'll be okay. And then they win a Super Bowl, and, it's all flowers and whatever else for that team. So everybody loves them.
And I think there's a lot of people in the national media who believe they may think the Saints are going to lose this game because Seattle has a great home field advantage. The weather's going to be lousy. But I think personally they believe that the Saints are a better team. And if this game was being played in New Orleans, I bet they'd probably all be pulling for predicting a Saints victory. So
I think a lot of people think that they feel that the Saints are a better passing offense, and that given the last week and a half where we had issues with our secondary, that they think the Saints will be able to exploit that. I don't think anybody honestly thinks that the Saints, top to bottom, are a better team than the Seahawks. I just think they feel like it's competitive. I mean, and the home field advantage is a tangible thing. Now to the point where Las Vegas actually has adjusted its home field advantage for specifically the Seahawks. Normally the home team gets 3 points just automatically. Now they get 4 in Seattle because how the Seahawks home field advantage is. So, that was kind of a cool thing that happened this year. But
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Well, the line right now is 5. Seattle's favored by 5.5.
So 4 points come by virtue of the home team. But
yeah. I feel a little different. I don't think, from what I'm hearing, everybody's picking Seattle to win. I don't feel like the media darling right now is the Saints at all. I feel that Seattle gets a lot of attention, and I think we're favored. I think they're giving Seattle a lot of props, and I think we're going to win.
Well, here's the difference. A lot of people are picking Seattle, but it's because Seattle has shut them up in the past. Like Trey Wingo was on this week with the local Seattle media, and he was like, I'd picked against the Seahawks this week and that week, blah, blah, blah. He's like, honestly, I'm just going to start picking them until they prove to me that they're going to lose, because I'm tired of eating my words. So, I mean, that's just kind of how it is. I don't think they really believe they're going to win when they pick them necessarily, but they've learned to adapt, I think is what's going on.
Right. What's interesting too is that if it were the reverse, if the Saints or whoever else were hosting the game and they were getting their equivalent of Percy Harvin back, then the main focus would be like, oh my goodness, look, this receiver's returning and now it's going to be very difficult,
Yeah.
This group, like they've just like, oh yeah, by the way, they get Harvin back, and then they move on. So it's just kind of, it's just funny because that's going to be a huge X factor for this game. I mean, having Harvin back makes up for the loss of Browner and Thurman in my mind. Right. So I mean, it's just what they choose to focus on is funny. That's going
to be a curious thing to look at there, Statman, over the next few weeks. If Percy, the Seahawks pre-Percy Harvin, Seahawks post-Percy Harvin, I wonder if their average for points per game is going to go up once Percy comes back.
Yeah.
I would imagine it will, but there would have to be like an asterisk about that because 3 of the last 5 are home games, but still.
Yeah. Well, and another thing, the Saints are playing, I believe they played 5 home games already, and or maybe even 6. I think they played 5 home games already. So the end of the road here aren't going to be as home as they were at the beginning of the season. Their schedule's different than ours. We started mostly on the road, and now we're finishing at home.
Yeah.
They started mostly at home, and now they're finishing on the road, and they've got to play Carolina. They've got to at St. Louis. They've got to do some other things. So, this one game may or may not decide the home field advantage.
I don't think it's going to decide it, to be honest with you. Well, if the Seahawks win, I think they have that in their back pocket. They'll be just fine. But if the Saints win, I don't think that decides they're going to get home field advantage because of their schedule versus ours.
Right.
Yeah, they only have 2 home games left, and one of them is against Carolina, who's won 7 straight. So
Yikes.
Hey, yeah, curiosity, was that San Francisco game in San Francisco?
no, it's in New Orleans.
It was in New Orleans.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Just curious because I know they're a worse road team. So
And let's see here. Seahawks wise, really quick. Offensively, we're at 24th. Geez, that couldn't be more misleading right there. That's that. 24th in passing, 3rd in rushing. Defensively, we're 2nd versus the run, 16th versus the pass. Russell Wilson, 2,362 yards, 19 TDs. And I didn't write it down, but I think he only has 6 interceptions. Right around there. Lynch, 925 yards, so we can look for him to get 1,000 maybe after this game.
Yeah.
4.4 average, 9 touchdowns. And Russell Wilson, again, rushing 409 yards, a 5.7 average, and a TD. And Tate and Baldwin, 600 yards for Tate, 586 for Baldwin. They're both averaging over 14 yards per catch. Tate, 4 TDs. Baldwin, 3 TDs. Offensively, Earl Thomas, 4 interceptions. Sherman, 4 interceptions. We have 33 sacks. We have 16 interceptions as a team. So, those are the numbers that add up to why we're such a good defense right there.
yeah. That doesn't. Did you mention fumbles and recoveries or no?
I did not, and it's weird where I go. I keep forgetting. I think the last I heard. I think are we at like a +8 or 9 for
something like that.
takeaway?
Yeah.
Yep.
And we're nearly dead even in terms of points for and points against. The Seahawks 306 points for, points against 179.
The DVOA.
305 points for the Saints, and they've given up 196.
And something that you didn't mention was explosive plays. Our passing game, maybe 20 whatever you said, but there's only one team in the NFL that has more explosive plays than us. That's 20-plus yards. And the majority of those explosive plays are passing yards. So we may not – and I think a lot of it has to do with how much we pass. Russell's only passing for like 25, 26 yards. 26 plays per game. That's all he throws. Breeze, I guarantee you, is more he's going to be in the 30s, probably high 30s. And we're more efficient. So we make those long plays. You cannot have explosive plays only passing 20 yards a game and almost lead the league in explosive plays.
Yeah.
Unless you're good at what you do. The Seahawks just are efficient. That's all it is.
Yep.
That they are. Will, what's game real quick? What do you think is going to be the key to this game?
Well, best way to take pressure off the secondary is to get in the opposing quarterback's face. So I want to see our front four, just get some consistent pass rush without having to bring the extra attacker. If we can do that, it's going to be a long, cold night for Drew Brees.
I hope so. Mark, what do you think is the big key for this game?
There's a lot of probably more so than against any other opponent for Seattle this week. We want to keep Breeze off the field, and that means a heavy dose of Lynch. And the Saints are giving up. I heard somewhere, I didn't write it down. I think they're giving up well over 4 yards a carry, even though the rush defense middle of the league, so that makes sense. But I think it's just burn the clock, run Lynch. Wilson has a lane, take it. It just keeps off the field and limit the possessions because New Orleans typically runs a huge amount of off late this game.
Yeah. All right, Dana, what do you think's the key?
A good defense, and I would say we need our O-line to step up. We can't allow Wilson to continuously go down. So our O-line really needs to step up. As much as I love Wilson, don't get me wrong, but our O-line has to protect him. I don't want Wilson out there so much. We need our defense to step up, but we really need our O-line to step up and protect our quarterback.
All right, Dustin, what do you got for a key?
I want to say pass rush because I think Breeze is already going to be flustered from the weather. He doesn't play well in the cold weather. And then if we're able to get in him, get in his space, I think it's going to flush him, take him off his spot, make him throw passes he would normally throw. I think we're going to be all right. It's just completely the pass rush. Get in his face, make him uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's the end of the third quarter, bitches.
And that's the end of the third quarter. So we'll gather our information together. Thank you, Stats and Mark, for some wonderful stats and information that we can use for the upcoming game. Yep. And we will be back on the other side of the third quarter after this quick station identification, and we'll be back with our predictions and prognostications.
You're listening to the 12th Man Fan Jam on the Seahawk Positivity YouTube channel.
Well, I hear all that. What is an internet?
And now it's time for the fourth quarter of the 12th Man Fan Jam. Here to lead us through the final quarter is once again our host, the self-appointed Reverend Moses of the St. Paul Allen Church of Seahawk Positivity.
Thank you, Magic Voice of the 12th Man Fan Jam. We are back with our fourth quarter, which means it's time for our predictions and prognostications. And we will always, on this show, allow the ladies to go first. So, Dana, you are one of our guests this evening. We have two guests this evening. You're the female guest this evening.
The best.
So you get to start. Yes, well, that's an opinion. Dana, you can give us your score first. What do you think is the score of the upcoming the Saints?
I'm going to go with the Saints 34, Seahawks 33. Now, before you get on my case, everybody, there's a reason for it. Historically, every week I pick Seattle to lose by 1. And look how well we're doing. So my prediction, final score, Saints 34, Seahawks 33.
I gotta say, Dana is Seahawks royalty, so she can say whatever she wants.
She can, and she's doing that for a reason. There is a reason. There's a method to her madness, even though she's crazy for saying that. No.
I always predict us to lose by 1. It's. I don't want them to lose by 1, but every time I pick them to lose by 1, we win.
When did that start? How long have you been picking them to
2
lose
years.
by 1?
About 2 years.
This is 2 years. Yeah, I always pick them to lose by 1. And then whenever I do that, Jimmy gets all excited. That means we're going to win.
Well, Jimmy, that pick was for you.
Jimmy Foreman?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Soulfish Hawk to some of you.
Soulfish, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Dustin, what is your prediction score-wise?
I think I'm going to go Seahawks 35 and the Saints 27.
All right, 35-27.
Yes, sir.
Will, what is your score prediction?
Well, it was originally 27-17 Seahawks, but that was actually the final score of tonight's Apple Cup between Washington and Washington State. So since I don't think we're going to get two scores like that, I'm going to change mine to Seahawks 24, Saints 13.
Low scoring in the snow. Mark?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember which score I've posted on which website. But I know I'm in the neighborhood when I say, I think among the ones I posted, all Seahawk wins. I'm going to go with 31-20 Seattle.
I like it.
That's what I originally had, but I will change a little bit. I'm feeling more confident as the game goes on. I originally said 31-20, but I'm feeling more and more confident. I'm going to kick an extra field goal. I'm going to go 34-20 good guys. So I'm feeling pretty confident about this game. I'm not quite feeling the way I did at the 49ers game. And I told everybody where I live, I said the 49er game is going to be a blowout.
You did.
They thought I was nuts. And Mark will vouch for me, right, Mark?
Yeah, I will vouch for the Reverend on that one for sure.
Yes, I
Good man.
That a blowout. Now, I'm not calling this one a blowout. In fact, I think it's going to be a slow start, a frustratingly slow start for Seattle. But I think come the second half, they'll do what they normally do, which is gradually just wind people down, just grind them down, and I think it's going to be a runaway in the fourth quarter. So 34-20 is what I'm going with.
Holy shit, it's a 2-minute warning.
And a 2-minute warning, we will do our prognostications, and what those are is something unusual, something to look for in the stat sheet that is out of the ordinary for this game. And once again, we'll start ladies first. Dana, it has been great to have you on the show this evening. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Do you have a prognostication for this game? Something you see in your little crystal ball there?
I think we're going to do a little razzle-dazzle. That play against Atlanta where it was Wilson to Lynch, back to Wilson, and then the bomb to Curse.
Flea flicker.
I predict that. That's going to go. That's going to happen this game. Seattle.
And will it result in a touchdown?
Absolutely.
Okay. Flea flicker for a TD. I like that. That's nice. Well done. Dustin, thanks again for joining us this evening as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me, sir. Good to talk to everybody again.
It was great for you to be on. You got a prognostication for us?
Yeah, I'm going to go kind of crazy too. I think we're going to mix things up a little bit. It's another crazy play like Dana's talking about, but I'm going to say our lefty, Golden Tate, who was the only left-handed person to throw a touchdown last year, is going to have another touchdown that he throws off a bubble pass, but I think he's going to hit up Percy Harvin for a touchdown.
Like that.
Wow. Very nice. Golden Tate throws a TD to Harvin.
Yep.
Bill, what do you got?
You know, with all the hand-wringing in the media about Byron Maxwell and Jeremy Lane stepping in for our wayward cornerbacks, I think either Maxwell or Lane gets a pick and takes it to the house. I say pick 6 for one of the replacements.
Excellent. That would be poetic justice, would it not?
I like it.
I like it too. Mark.
Yes.
How's your left? Wait. How's your left foot, Mark? How's it feeling? Is it okay?
My left foot. Well, I can't write with it yet, but it's getting. Let's see. You know what I'm thinking about? I think that the Saints, given the inclement weather, given the forecast, I think Sean Payton is going to call an onside kick or something goofy that's going to completely backfire. He's going to get too cute in this game, and I think it's just going to create. I think it's an ill is going to lead to touchdowns.
I like that because it's not unprecedented. That's exactly what he did against the Colts in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to be kind of simple and easy, and I'm just going to say that basically the Saints are, and it kind of fits up to what some of you said. I think the Saints are going to have 4 turnovers in this game, and that's going to be very unfair for them. But I think weather, with the having to run the ball, against the loud noise, against all the craziness, I think that they're going to be a little intimidated. I don't think they've really faced this kind of crowd in a while, and I think it's going to show up. I think 4 turnovers by New Orleans will be my prognostication for this week.
Hell, dude, I guarantee you they have not faced a crowd like this in a while. There's not a crowd like this in the NFL. They haven't faced a crowd like this since, 2010?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened there.
On my birthday, by the way.
And it's a primetime game.
And it's Monday night.
Yep.
And the stage is set for the Seahawks to do what they did to the 49ers, in my opinion.
Yes, sir.
Hey, has this been fun or what? We had a good evening talking about Seahawk football. We're getting excited. The Saints are coming to town. They're going to come marching in. We hope they go crawling back to New Orleans in the Big Easy. It's going to be a lot of fun Monday night. Whenever and wherever you watch the game, I hope you have a great time. Of course, we hope the Seahawks win. We're so glad that you decided to make us part of your Seahawks tradition this week. And we want to thank all of our panelists. We want to thank Statsman Mark for giving us the stats, Shadowhawk Will for all of the news, and Dana for joining us this week, Dustin for joining this week, and as well as you out there listening. Remember, if you would like to contact us, our email is up on the screen right now. So be sure to write that down and send us some constructive feedback, hopefully, on how the show is and what you'd like to hear. Next week we'll be back, of course. Hopefully, we hope you smiled a lot and we laughed a little this week. On behalf of the entire panel, this is your self-appointed Reverend Moses of the St. Paul Allen Church of Seahawk Positivity, saying enjoy the Monday and go Hawks.